Yeah, if you're seeing my beautiful face, dear chat, then please let us
Let
know.
us know if we're live. It shows that we're live and recording. Hello, beautiful people. Do you see us already talking here? Hello, hello.
Hello.
Or we just don't
Starting in
chat,
just a few
maybe.
minutes. But as a good NIM tradition, we're warming the stage with this lovely gentleman over here, Huxian, which we usually also do on community calls. How's it going, Hux? Where are you? Maybe let's talk about that.
It's going good, man. Thank you. I'm at university, one of the last few universities of Hungary, and yeah, it's the Ola. I was trying to look for an impressive background for the time when I show my face on a.
Maybe you should have also looked for an impressive connection. You're breaking up a little bit, friend. Yes.
But
anyways, it's super exciting to finally get started with this. So much planning, huh?
Yeah, and good morning, good evening, everyone. We've been waiting for such a long time for this. It's been going on since July, as we already told some people on the Friday community call. And yeah, probably this is, I don't know, probably this is the most people that I've spoken in front of online. How about you, Sudo? Are you the most excited for this event, or?
I'm super excited. Also a little nervous as usual, but that's just me. Wait, so where do I see the people count? I'm not sure how many people are watching us right now.
I guess if you open the stream,
chat?
but just mute it.
No, yeah.
Hello. Hey guys, how are you all doing? Maybe share us in the chat where you're from. I mean, not necessarily like the home address, because that's a bit too much to ask, but your country maybe, or what city you're dialing in from, so we have an idea of where you all are. If you want. 149 people, thank you. I didn't go. Yes, so someone. Yeah, someone. I hate DickTube. DickTube's asking if I went shopping. I wanted to go to a hairdresser, but I didn't go eventually. So I went with the cap. I think it's okay. Hiding my hairstyle. Hello, good morning or good night for the guys who are joining in from Indonesia. Good afternoon in Poland, and good morning in Argentina. Yeah, trader friend, the code's gonna come in due course. You have to
at some
probably
point.
listen the whole
lecture
to at some point. We cannot tell more at this point.
Soon,
hey,
soon,
especially, and warm welcome to our friends in Ukraine.
Or welcome to our friends from anybody, anywhere. I meant.
Yes. Good evening in Philippines. Yes. Shout out for those who join like super late at night. Guys, we did our best to schedule these calls in a time zone where it's possible from all around the globe to meet it. So this is probably the best we could do. We hope it's gonna suit you. And just to remind everyone that these calls are gonna be held in English. That's kind of our shared language, but we're gonna make our best to create translations as fast as possible for the lecture videos. So hopefully after live lectures, you should have the subtitled lecture also very, very soon uploaded to YouTube. A lot of people are going to be working on this. Our ambassadors, our community managers, maybe us too. No, just kidding. Our language doesn't really matter, no?
I mean, for context, guys, Hux and I are both Hungarians, so about 10 million people in the world speak our language, which is not a very good investment. If you want to learn a language, don't speak Hungarian.
Yeah. Warm welcome. Someone is from the sea. That's the nicest thing.
From the sea.
I myself identify as a pirate sometimes. So yeah. Hola de España. Hola de Latinoamérica. Warm welcome to you guys. Bem-vindo do Brasil. I hope I said that correctly. Yeah. It's great to see you all. We're super, super excited, and we're really waiting for Jaya to join us here on stage.
Where is my boss?
Has the link.
She does.
Where's your boss?
I think she's joining us soon.
Yeah. No,
hello, everyone.
She is. Hey,
I got immediately out of focus, out of blushing when you arrived, Jaya. How is it going?
Good. Good to see so many people joining the room. Are we ready to
Yeah.
kickstart NIM Shipyard?
I think we almost are, but let's give people a bit more time to join, I guess, because the live stream has just started. So before that, I have a warm up question for you, Jaya, without spoiling the fun for your presentation, which you're going to give. So if you have to name one thing, besides, of course, getting to work so much with me because of Shipyard, what is the thing that gets you most excited about Shipyard and why?
The community. It's getting this amount of people together from all over the world to really deep dive on one of the core problems of the internet. I think it's an absolutely unique thing, especially given just how international it is, and I'm seeing people joining from all over. So really excited for people to get to know each other, to make new friends, have interesting discussions. Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
That's the right answer, Jaya. I mean, me as head of community, I'm super happy about that answer. And also, I guess Hux is one of our prime members.
Me too. I also want to ask if your video is frozen for everyone or it's just me. I kind of see you frozen and nice smiling. Okay, good, fantastic.
Just you.
It's a nice pose. Yeah, super exciting. So should we maybe drum roll and start at 05? How does that sound?
Oh,
that's
not a drum roll, Salazar. That's a badum. That's a different thing. I'll explain later. Jaya, do you want me to share your slide deck, or do you want to share your own?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead, because then I can see a little bit better what's going on.
Okay, give me one moment, please.
Actually, hang on. Let me send you the deck.
And I'm gonna start a slow, I don't know, announcement. So ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you've been all waiting for and that we've all been waiting for is finally within this minute's reach. The grand opening of NIM Shipyard 2023 is just about to start. Hey Anna.
Hey.
Thanks for the support.
Cool. You got my slides, Sudo?
Yes, they're already shared. Salazar.
Nice one.
Remove us from the screen. They don't need to see us for this. Hux and I don't need to be on this. Take it away, boss.
Good. Well, it is my absolute pleasure to kickstart the official opening ceremony of NIM Shipyard. The three of us who you heard chit-chatting earlier, we're all very excited because this is a much bigger version of a prototype of Shipyard that we did last year. And what happened last year was a lot of the people that went through Shipyard then became core contributors to the project. So we're hoping that we're going to take a whole load of more people on that similar journey and really deep dive on some of the core problems of the internet. So warm welcome to everybody who has joined us here today. And let's get started on this 6-week exciting journey. So can you click to the next slide, Salazar? Yeah, so before we start, let's look a little bit at the kind of bigger picture of why we're running something like NIM Shipyard. From our perspective, it's a little bit time for a bit more of a radical gear change in the world of privacy. So what we're really hoping to do here is to train the next generation of people, builders, operators, and visionaries to really transform the core of the internet, what we call the DNA of the internet. The internet was built not with privacy in mind. We have a leaky infrastructure. And the implications of that leaky infrastructure are quite severe across both the technical, economic, and social landscape. So we have a role for everybody here. You don't need to be super technical in order to contribute. But you will learn over the next 6 weeks some of the core technical problems of the leaky internet. And NIM, as some of you already know, is addressing this leak at the network layer, meaning the kind of patterns of communication that run across the entire internet. Those patterns are currently fully visible, and that's something that NIM is trying to address in order to enable better, more secure, more privacy-preserving communications across the full stack. So that's the exciting kind of technical side of it, and we're hoping that those among you who are builders can really kind of deep dive into that and explore the kind of SDKs that we have, the docs that we have. You'll be speaking to the core engineering team. And of course, the operators themselves also to look into both the technical side of things as well as the economic. For those of you who don't have a technical background, there's the visionary track that will come later. And here, it's really understanding that these technical problems have social implications and they have economic implications. I myself, I come from quite a mixed background, a background in political economy and fine arts, then deep diving into digital philosophy. And all along, I have been working quite intensively on a variety of technical projects. So, NIM really is a holistic approach that tries to look at and address both the technical and economic problems to shift the social effects of what's happening. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So what are we talking about when we say changing the DNA of the internet? What we're talking about here is really to shift the core of the internet to have what we call privacy as the default. What's interesting or kind of a bit difficult about this term is that for a lot of people, this might be a little bit abstract. And what we've actually found is that even the word privacy is not a word that actually exists in all language across the world. So, when we say privacy is the default, it can be a little bit vague, a little bit fluffy. But part of the reason for why it is so vague and abstract is because actually human beings were used to having privacy as default. Can you go to the next slide, please? So for thousands of years, humanity has actually existed with some level of privacy as default. And what I mean by that is, we're used to our kind of having our interior thoughts, feelings, emotions, sit somewhat in a kind of private interior space. Our mind, our thoughts are our own. Our feelings are kind of emerge from a space that is unknown to other people and even unknown to ourselves. And it's the place where we really can form and experiment and become as human beings. So this is the interior private space. We're also used to privacy as default in our day-to-day relationships. So when we're speaking to a friend or speaking to our mother or speaking to a lover, we're used to that conversation. We're assuming that conversation is happening between us and that friend. Not that you have hundreds of companies listening in or governments potentially listening in. So, in essence, the reason why the word privacy tends to be so abstract for people is because a lot of the time in the real world, we're kind of used to that being the norm. Another very good way to think about it is in terms of spaces. So we're used to being able to go inside in our home when we need a little bit of time for ourselves. And when we feel like socializing, we feel like meeting other people, we put on a bit of a public persona and we go out into the world and, we become something that is specific to, whoever we're interacting with. But in the privacy of our home, we can just be, and we don't have to perform. We don't have to live up to any standards or anything like that. So, we have real world architecture that enables that sort of privacy and that shift between the public and the private. Now we've kind of reached a stage, in humanity where it's time to do a similar type of architecture in the digital space. Right now, we live in a kind of datascape that is fully open. You have, people's information crisscrossing the internet, and a lot of this information is exposed. So we haven't actually established the architectures online in a very considered way, in a similar way that we're used to from the real world architectures. So it's time to really, change that, to really see a gear change in how we understand online spaces and build the appropriate architectures for that. Salazar, do you want to go to the next slide? So what are some of the reasons why we need privacy? Here I'm showing some of my own private images as an example. So we've got my brother and my niece and nephew in the middle there, and my ex on the left hand side, and my siblings on the right hand side. The reason why I'm sharing this is as an example. Here, this is from screenshots of me having these private conversations with people who are close to me. And what we see here is, the things that are expressed. It's the being able to be silly, being able to, be free to fool around, to experiment, to try new things, and kind of intimate relationships, right? I'm very happy to be using Signal app, which is very privacy preserving. So, I can have these conversations knowing that, the infrastructure providers are not actually listening into what I'm doing. So I'm speaking to, my lover, to my brother, to my niece and nephew, knowing that it's a conversation between the two of us. Next slide, Salazar. Next slide, please. But under normal circumstances, this is what's happening. And this is, this is just a few, maybe half of the companies that I grabbed from, the cookie settings that you see normally online. This is not even all of them. This is, hundreds and hundreds of companies that are listening in to these very private conversations and listening into and registering your browsing habits, your clicks, your scrolls. And all these companies are selling this information on to other companies. So you have this entire data market that's formed around communications infrastructures where, I'm thinking I'm just having a conversation with one person, my best friend. And this is not a normal situation. This is extremely abnormal situation that has only come about in the past couple of decades. And it's time to change that and rectify this problem. Next slide, please. So in short, what we have today is pretty much surveillance as the default. And this is due to, next slide, please. No, sorry, go back again. Yeah, so what we have today is pretty much surveillance as the default. And that's partially due to what I was talking about earlier, leaky infrastructure. But what happened was that leaky infrastructure was then exploited, right? So, companies and governments realizing that there is all this data that's available. So let's grab that data. Let's make sure we have people online as much as possible to produce more data, so that we can sell that on in data markets. So what we have here is both a technical, an economic, and a social problem. Next slide, please. So what are the effects of having surveillance as the default? When NIM was first founded, a lot of people in the founding group actually came from activist backgrounds. And when you're an activist and you're trying to kind of hold the powerful to account, the question of privacy is a very obvious one. When you don't have privacy, then you'll see that there's oppression, right? Activists get put to jail, people get persecuted. And we see this happening heavily in more oppressive regimes, but increasingly across the whole world. So the effects of not having privacy, the effects of intensive surveillance is very quickly oppression. It really feeds into centralization of power in the most powerful and those that can actually control the infrastructures that we use. What we also see is marginalization. So NIM was founded, yes, by some of us were are activists and so on, but it was also founded very much in response to the Edward Snowden revelations. And what happened when Edward Snowden revealed that the National Security Agency of the United States was surveilling the entire internet is that everybody started to suddenly understand that surveillance was not just targeted at specific suspects, but was actually the norm. So what I was saying earlier, privacy as the default, meaning everybody was under surveillance. So, watching the entire internet basically means that everyone's a potential suspect at any given time. And so we had a shift, towards basically surveillance becoming the norm, and creating kind of a categorization of people that actually make marginalization of specific groups of people even more severe. And as I was mentioning earlier, this was tied into a business model, right? So when you have the government harvesting a lot of data, you have this enabled by private sector companies, and you look at some of these tech giants. Facebook is worth what, 800 billion, and then you have the ad tech industry, which is also worth something like $800 billion. This is enormous, economic pressure to actually surveil people, to grab people's data, and not only that, to actually make sure that people are online as much as possible, clicking, scrolling, revealing more and more about themselves, because it is the basis of online advertising, and it's the basis of keeping people on commercial platforms. Let's see next slide. So, what is the change that's necessary? Like this is what we want to achieve, right? What do we mean when we're talking about privacy as the default? We want to transform these dynamics. We want to ensure that human rights activists can continue to do the important work that they're doing. That journalists, investigative journalists, can continue to do the work that they're doing without oppression. We want to prevent marginalization. What we saw, a lot of people in the West woke up to this problem of marginalization, just a couple of years ago when abortion, the right to abortion in the U.S. was threatened, and all of a sudden, the entire group of basically women were marginalized, and become potential targets. And we want to see peace of mind. We want to kind of reduce the phone addiction. We want to prevent the mental health crisis that we've seen from this kind of constant need to be online that companies are creating in order to extract data. See the next slide, please. But there's something more here. This is not just about protection. This is not just about prevention. This is also enabling a different direction for innovation. So, we haven't lost everything, and actually privacy has had a lot of huge wins over the past few years. End-to-end encryption became pretty much the expected standard. There was a transport layer security, TLS was put in place. And what happened as a result, and Harry Halpin, our CEO, mentions this quite often, is with TLS, what happened was a kind of an explosion in e-commerce. It actually enabled the security that was necessary in order for people to make commercial transactions and actually run businesses online. Without strong privacy and strong encryption, this was simply not possible. So, we have achieved some level of protections, especially in terms of end-to-end encryption. That is somewhat becoming threatened now. And we're seeing a little bit of a kind of kind of attacks on end-to-end encryption. And of course, we have the issue of patterns not being protected, which we're going to go into over the course of Shipyard. But if we imagine privacy as the default, could we imagine a similar type of explosion in innovation as we saw when TLS was implemented? If we have privacy as the default for patterns across the internet, does that explosion maybe go hand in hand with something like a new direction of innovation for artificial intelligence? I think we're seeing a lot of very, very exciting new privacy primitives. So building blocks that developers are actually able to, plug into in order to get very strong privacy, both at the network layer, via something like NIM, but also, of course, with zero knowledge technologies that enable the types of, creating the types of sophisticated architectures online in the mathematical space, like I was speaking about earlier. We really do have the tools now to shape online spaces in a way that is much more appropriate, and will enable a much better participation in the future of things like artificial intelligence. And finally, it's very much worth mentioning that we're seeing, although that privacy has come under attack recently, we're seeing a huge demand for privacy as well. The VPN market is growing. All big technology companies are including privacy in their core marketing material. And all of this is evidence of the fact that this is the next big thing. Next slide, please. So what will it take to change the DNA of the internet? Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, there's first of all the technical problem, and here we have the privacy primitives of mixing, anonymity sets, zero knowledge proofs, all of which you're going to be learning about in the next 6 weeks. We also need to transform the business model. This is very important. So over the next 6 weeks, we're also going to be talking a lot about the NIM token economics. The NIM token economics are, really put in place in order to provide an alternative to the surveillance business model. We want to make it economically sustainable and attractive for people to provide strong privacy. So you're going to be learning about that as well. And then, of course, we need a kind of social change here. We need a transformation of the narrative. Next slide, please. So essentially, we want to also kind of move to a place where, we're talking about a narrative where privacy doesn't become automatically associated with hackers and criminalization, but instead associated with something that's a luxury, where it's about peace of mind. It's about the freedom to be ourselves. Next slide, please. And to address one of the kind of main questions that always comes up when we're talking about privacy, let's just get that out of the way before we start the next 6 weeks. There's a lot of association with privacy and anonymity and crime. So people have this worry that if you have strong privacy, doesn't that help criminals, right? A very good analogy that I like to think about is, if we're afraid that having strong privacy online is going to enable criminals, that's the same thing as saying that you wouldn't. It's the same thing as poisoning the drinking water of a town. You wouldn't poison the drinking water of a whole town just because one criminal might one day get thirsty. You need safe drinking water. You need good infrastructure. You need security. You need integrity of infrastructure for everybody. Despite the fact that there might be one criminal that passes by and drinks your town water. This is the core of security, in the real world and online. So, instead of privacy being associated with crime and surveillance being associated with security, we really need to understand that when we're talking about digital infrastructures, surveillance actually means vulnerability. It means putting a backdoor in everybody's communications, and that actually comes with quite severe consequences. Conversely, having strong privacy as the default actually improves the security, the dignity, and integrity for everybody online. Next slide, please. We cannot do this alone, of course. NIM, as I mentioned, addresses one layer of the privacy problem. We're part of a much, much bigger ecosystem, just some of which are mentioned in this slide. We're part of the Universal Privacy Alliance, along with other Web3 projects and companies that we're very, very proud of. We have a whole variety of partners, backers, and community who have gathered around the project and are with us on this journey. Next slide, please. So to round off and welcome you all once again, you are very welcome to be here. We have tracks for everybody. I'm sure Hux and Sudo are going to get into that some more. But just to reiterate that, we're hoping by the end of NIM Shipyard, a lot of you will have graduated into, NIM node operators and understand how to run a kind of profitable node operating business. Some of you will hopefully have graduated into becoming a builder that really understands the privacy primitives that are available to build the future apps and services that we actually need online. And that some of you will gather it, into squads and form, visionary crews that can actually go out and spread the word through visuals, new narratives, and so on. Next slide, please. And that's it. Do contact me at any point in time. My name is Jaya, part of the core team, and I am super happy to hand over to Hux and Sudo to take you through the rest of the presentation.
Beautiful. I just love these sound effects, man.
Thank you so much, Jaya. It was fantastic.
Fantastic presentation as always from Jaya about the big picture. So can you ask a few questions, maybe Hux, until I get the setup right for the next one?
Yeah. I've seen a question in the stream that from someone asking that can someone without programming knowledge participate in Shipyard?
Yes, absolutely. So as I mentioned before, I don't have a programming background either. What I do have is, I do love reading technical papers, though I have to admit that much. It's one of my favorite things. And I start to imagine all these mathematical architectures in my head, and it's a hobby of mine to read technical papers. But even if you don't like reading technical papers, you are going to be taken through a learning journey here that will give you the big picture that you need to know. And all of us have different skills, and sometimes people with programming skills don't necessarily have communication skills or visual skills, but all of this is needed in order for us to achieve the type of change and the kind of ambitious change that we're looking for.
Thank you for that answer. Yeah, I also believe that this change is only possible if we have a truly diverse community. But we're gonna get into with Sudo if he's
exactly.
He's moving really slow.
Unless we have
for me. Oh no, here. Good.
All right.
Sorry.
So welcome everybody to this incredibly exciting event. We're officially kicking off Shipyard, as you know, which is the biggest community event that NIM has ever put together. So I'm head of community, Sudo, aka Simon. Welcome everybody. And for those of you who have been around, of course, and attended what we called last year, the prototype that Jaya mentioned, Shipyard Academy, welcome back to Shipyard, and to everybody else, welcome to Shipyard. Moving on to the next slide. So why are we here? This is a pretty big question, of course. Am I right?
Yeah,
We are here.
the big question of
in my
life.
personal. Exactly, it's the big question of life. Don't worry, we're gonna keep it pretty specific, okay? So, in my personal opinion, we're here because the internet is broken, but only for now, and there is a solution, and I'm basically here to bring you guys everything there is to know about that solution that Nim is proposing to fix the broken internet. But let me ask Hux you the question: why are you here, friend? What are you doing in my stream? You're just a community member.
Someone dropped me this link, so I just joined randomly. No, the official
We
answer
can't hear
for that
you.
is that
I think you're on mute.
no, yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm just randomly here because I've seen this link somewhere, and I didn't know what to do, so I joined. But to be honest with you guys, I'm here because last year I joined the NIM community just one day before the first shipyard started, and this has been a transformational experience for my life, because not just I found a community of friends, of like-minded people with a vision about the future, which is not based on the internet, surveilling us all the time. And also, I actually started a PhD in digital anthropology, inspired by the whole experience of what began with Shipyard, and now I'm also contributing to the project itself, and I'm super happy and proud that I could take part in designing the curriculum and Shipyard 23 together with this beautiful team. So my sincere hope, and that's why I'm here today to share with all our listeners this, that next year it's not me from the community who's co-hosting these sessions, but it's someone who's in the audience right now, and you're listening to what we're saying. And I just want to tell you guys that come engage with us, listen to all the presentations, show yourself, and the road is free. I mean, I really hope that someone else is trying to give an inspirational talk instead of me, because I'm mumbling and fumbling when I have to talk about myself. But
I'm hoping for the
let's
same. I'm also hoping to sit on this on the Shipyard 2024 launch call with someone else other than you. It would be nice to finally get rid of you somehow.
Of course, yeah.
Next slide.
Next slide, please. Yeah, and just to let you know, guys, what we're going to be talking about with Sudo is that we're going to give a quick tour of the NIM community, because Shipyard is all about community, and so is NIM. We're going to also give a quick overview of the curriculum, and then we're going to give you a rundown of next steps, what to do, so you don't get lost, but you know exactly where to click and what to keep an eye on after this presentation and the opening ceremony. So let's get right into it. And Sudo, I think you should explain a little bit more about what NIM does.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because Jai already did. That's one reason. And the other reason is because this is the stuff that you're going to be learning about throughout Shipyard. So just the very basics. NIM has a mixnet, which is decentralized privacy infrastructure. We also have a token, which enables a privacy economic model and also unlocks the utility of the NIM mixnet. We also have zero-knowledge selective disclosure credentials, which are basically some of the biggest breakthrough of the internet, I would say, for the 21st century. And then how is all of this related to community, Hux?
Yeah, so this is a grand vision, what we are building together. This vision is built on a decentralized infrastructure which is operated by the community. The applications running on the NIM mixnet will be already being built by community members and will be built by future community members. And also one of the, closest to my heart is the movement building, the privacy movement building, which is nothing if there are no different squads and separate communities, different locations all around the world spreading the privacy ethos, or spreading these sort of new narratives of why privacy should be default and why it is normal. So this is all, basically, if there's no community, none of this is possible. So that's what we're really hoping to show you now, that this vision is only possible if we do it together. And the more and more diverse we are, the quicker and better we can arrive at a safer internet, where we can have our private moments too. Let's go one more slide, I think. Because some other news to share about the community, that it just got a whole lot bigger, hasn't it, Sudo?
Yeah, exactly. So we would like to welcome all the new people who just joined the NIM community. Also, We would like to take this opportunity to be among the first to welcome our future AI overlords as well. I'm guessing there's quite a bit of AI action going on our channels these days. Isn't that true,
Beep
Hux?
boop, beep boop.
Beep boop, beep boop, indeed.
Yes.
Anyways, hope we're friends when the AIs take over. Please think about us as friends. There are two very simple ground rules when it comes to the NIM community. Sorry, go ahead, friend.
I just want to mention that we're partially also here not to let that future happen, you know. So we really want to create a future where humans are still in charge, but we have to be super aware that this current day's internet is really full of different AI algorithms and different bots that are doing different tasks.
Exactly. Now, for all the new joiners, there are two very simple ground rules when it comes to the NIM community. One is please be nice to each other and don't spam too much. But good memes are always welcome, though. So feel free to share those. Now, a bit more about how the NIM community is structured. So there is this interesting conundrum when it comes to the NIM community. If you're watching this, then you probably have a Discord account and you're probably on our Discord server. Now, I don't know if you knew, but Discord is not great for our privacy. We're also on Telegram. One of our major channels, which you saw on the previous slide, is Telegram. We have 70,000 people there. But Telegram is also not very great for privacy. Somewhat better than Discord, but still very questionable. But these are very popular platforms, though. And NIM is a privacy project. So how do we square these two things?
Yes, so the way that NIM approaches this is that we meet people where they are. So that's why we only can spread the message if NIM is on all the socials like Twitter, if NIM is present on all the places where most of the current internet users are present, such as Telegram and Discord. And kind of we use these platforms for now, as long as most people are using them. But we are all fully aware, and we're really verbal about this, that these are terrible for your privacy. So that's why NIM also has a community matrix server, which is a privacy-first collaboration platform, a chat platform. And sort of think of it, and that's why this map has been made, think of it, that there's the castle and the castle walls, and inside there's a very nice and private matrix chat where there's not many bots, there's not many spammers and chillers, and all the rest of the platforms are sort of more watered up by people who are just there for 1 minute or maybe even bots. So this is your unofficial map to the NIM community. And just to mention a couple of other things, which I haven't mentioned yet, is that there are lots of specific Telegram chats meeting your interest. So there are also public spaces, but for specific conversations. There's a node setup help chat, there's regional community chats, there's a Ninja Cadet Den, which is the ambassadors gathering place. There's other unofficial groups, and there's also Telegram groups. So also in these groups, you can have more private, more focused conversations. It's going to take a bit of time to find your place, but don't worry, we're to help. And all the other CMs and ambassadors are super happy to help. So just ask away if you're looking for a certain type of information or for a certain type of group around NIM. And I think that we can go one more slide. So.
Exactly. So here's for another community map of NIM. You saw the community map of the structure of the NIM community, and this one is a more literal community map in two ways. First of all, it's grabbed from a community developed tool, which is called Explore NIM, which you will learn about during Shipyard. And also this map shows where our infrastructure is located. So maybe you live in a country which is not yet on this map, or you don't see a dot in your country. During Shipyard, you will learn how to fill the gaps by setting up mixed nodes and decentralize the NIM infrastructure even further.
And we can go one more slide, I think. And here comes the juicy part. I'm going to take you guys through the curriculum briefly. And so we designed Shipyard that it has 3 levels. And if Sal goes one more, we can see the level 1 and level 2 are sort of the overarching everything you need to know about the big picture. What's the problem with the internet today? What's NIM's solution in tackling this problem, and why privacy matters in today's age? This is going to happen between today and the 23rd of October, while level 2 is sort of the deep dive. The devil is in the details, where you're going to learn more about the mixed net architecture, how counter-surveillance economics models work, how the NIM token network, and also how the future of the privacy movement might look like, because we're going to have wonderful guests from our privacy first communities, such as the Universal Privacy Alliance, chatting about interesting topics. So the level 2 is going to go from 24th of October till the 5th of November. And after these 2 levels, which is kind of the base curriculum of Shipyard, and if you graduate this, then you get an unofficial degree from us that you learned all the stuff that we thought is important for you to teach. And if you go one more slide, we can show that level 3 is a tiny bit different, because level 1 and 2 are somewhat frontal, and there's master classes and there's workshops and there's some community AMAs. Level 3 is where we separated the 3 specialization tracks. One for developers who are coders and hackers developing apps and dApps, and we hope to see a lot more applications developed using the NIM Mixnet. One for operators, where we're going to teach everything there is to know about operating privacy coming weeks.
Is it just
and the third
is it just me, or did we lose Hux for a second there? Either way, yes, I think so. Now we can hear you. Can you please repeat the last sentence or two?
Yeah, the operator track, I think. So on the operator track, we're going to teach everything that is about to know about how to operate privacy-preserving decentralized infrastructure, how to run profitable mixed nodes, while the third track, which I'm also going to be co-leading with Mikola, is for the visionaries or for the movement builders or for the ambassadors, how to spread privacy by default message, and how to sort of find new narratives, and how to organize cool meetups, and how to tell to more people why this really matters today. And I think if I'm still here, then Sarah, you can go one more slide. And I give the word back to you to talk a little bit about more in detail.
That was the high-level overview of the curriculum. You're going to be getting more details on the channels that we're going to be sharing in a second about future levels, but we thought that it would make sense to zoom in to level 1, which is starting as of today, of course, and will end on the 23rd of October. So a quick thing to mention is that all of the live sessions during Shipyard, so this is for all the levels, will take place at 4 p.m. CET. We've really tried to find a time slot that works for everybody. It's very difficult when you have a global community, but we tried our best. Of course, all of these sessions are live streamed and recorded to both Twitch and YouTube, so you can watch them back. And subtitles in all the languages that you could sign up to Shipyard in will be provided after the fact as soon as these lectures are transmitted. So kicking off the curriculum of Shipyard will be on Wednesday. The man himself, NIM CEO and founder, Harry Halpin, will give a masterclass on fixing the broken internet, which is a theme that you heard about quite a bit during today's presentations. On Friday, there will be an AMA with Jaya, who you just heard a moment ago, myself and Huxian. Basically, if you have any questions to Jaya about anything that she mentioned, or you want to go deep on any of these topics, make sure to join and let's hang out. That was the schedule for the first week, and during the second week, we'll have a masterclass by none other than Chelsea Manning, who's a legendary whistleblower and a NIM security consultant, about privacy in the age of AI, which is, of course, another thing that we already mentioned. This will take place on Tuesday. And on Thursday, from Ade and Max from the NIM team, you will hear NIM, the private transport layer for the internet. Then on Friday, we'll have a privacy primitives in Web3 from layer 0 to ZK Compute, which is going to be an incredibly exciting conversation. Basically, it's a UPA roundtable. If you remember, Jaya mentioned the Universal Privacy Alliance just a moment ago. These are other projects in the Web3 privacy space. So Evan McMullin will join us from Disco, Kenny from Menta CEO, and Alan from Reaganta will join us for this conversation. It will be really fun. And then to close things off, there will be an exam, which will be a live exam. So you need to all take it at the same time on the NIM Discord server. You can see the timings for each region. Depending on your language, which language you selected to take the exam, you're going to be taking it in one of those time slots. And maybe one more thing to mention. When it comes to level 1 is that the AMAs and the fireside chats and these less curriculum events, which are more about just hanging out and talking, are not mandatory. So if you don't attend those, you will know everything to know to pass the exam. Moving on
Let's
to
look
the
at the next
steps.
So practical info for all you guys, what to do next, what's coming after the opening ceremony. Can you go one more slide, Sal?
All right.
We almost forgot.
So we almost forgot, and you guys also almost forgot. I saw in the chat the secret phase for today's event is Milhan. So you can enter this into the Gogsi field for the secret phase, and also later on we will share with you how to claim your POAP for attending this event, and you will need to use the same password to claim your POAP. So maybe we could bring Jaya back in, Salazar, and I wanted to ask Jaya. She chose this word. I wanted to ask her why she ended up choosing this one.
Whoops. Hello again. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Great. Milhan is the last name of a person called Jude Milhan. She was a programmer many years ago who actually came up with the term cypherpunk. So some of you, if you hang out in kind of various online subcultures, will have heard the word cypherpunk before. There are a bunch of famous cypherpunks around, including Julian Assange. But the early day cypherpunks were very much about holding the powerful to account. And they were, in fact, some of the first people that really flagged the fact that the internet would very quickly become a medium of mass surveillance if we were not careful. So if you read some of the kind of early cypherpunk texts and manifestos, you'll get a lot of the kind of background philosophy to a project like NIM, although we've taken some steps forward and we're now in the world of solar punks and lunar punks and discussing what the future punks will be about. But yeah, I do encourage people to look into the cypherpunks, and especially the hidden history of Jude Milhan, the woman who came up with the term. I'll share the blog posts. We named one of our test nets, our early NIM test nets, after Jude Milhan, and I'll share one of the blog posts and the Wikipedia entry about that.
Thanks, Jaya, for that.
Right, big thanks for that. Stick around for the next thing that I'm going to say, because actually a decision has been made over the weekend that affects kind of everybody participating in Shipyard. So as you probably noticed, we had quite a few campaigns leading up to the kickoff of Shipyard on Gogsi. And in light of the recent hacks of Gogsi, which we don't take lightly, so we make sure to protect our community's funds, we made the decision to not actually launch the stage 1 and stage 2 campaigns that we planned for Shipyard on Gogsi. So we're falling back to the original plan. So if you have been around for a long time and you participated in Shipyard Academy last year, then you already know how this is going to go. Basically, you're going to be attending lectures, listening to these beautiful people here talk about various very interesting things, and then you're going to be taking an exam, and this is what will define how much rewards you get. So, Jaya, anything to add there? Did I miss anything? You're muted, I think.
Yeah, she just said, go ahead.
I just give a thumbs up. Yeah, that's...
all right, big thumbs up.
Yep.
I almost forgot to mention. Of course, the previously run Gogsi campaigns, which were in the enrollment phase of Shipyard, will still get their rewards. So don't worry about that. You're still participating in those campaigns. We're just not going to be setting up any more of them. To be perfectly clear. Hux, you were about to say something, and I cut you off.
Yeah, just the same thing actually. So we can go one more slide and actually talk about next steps. And if we still have some time, we can answer some questions. Yes. Do you want to go?
Yes. So what? Yes. So these are the immediate next steps that we recommend you to take. So first of all, please go to our Discord server and introduce yourself. This is kind of a tradition. We asked community members to do the same during Shipyard Academy as well, and we had some really fun results. Of course, secondly, as Joya said very rightly, Shipyard is all about community. So please make sure to not just do things alone, but engage with the community, discuss things, hang out with people, find your friends, and vibe together. And then also step 3 is to look for a squad to join, or maybe set up your own squad and start self-organizing. Now, speaking of squads, I think the best person to ask about squads is Hux, because he kind of has his own. So do you want to walk people through what a squad is, Hux?
Yeah, so a squad can come in many shapes and forms. I think it's a group of people with a shared vision and some shared values who want to do cool stuff together. That cool stuff can be anything from running mixed nodes to programming applications to creating events and all that sorts. And just for context, our squad, the Pineapple Hive, is coming from a Shipyard study group from last year. So basically we started it because there was so much information and we really wanted to understand, more the details. So we just needed to talk to each other and ask our seemingly stupid questions from each other. And that really helped us to get where we are today. So I encourage everyone to start engaging, look for like-minded people, either join a squad which exists, or better yet, start your own little team and start engaging, start discussing, find a logo, write some words together down what the squad is about, because in stage 3, especially the visionary track, is going to be a lot about squads. So the earlier you guys start forming squads and looking for other people to work together with, the better chances you have of being in my position this time next year.
Exactly. And yeah. And when it comes to community, a bunch of people sitting in a Telegram group is not a real community. It's community is all about having friends and working with them together on a common goal. So we're looking forward to our next Pineapple proxies, possibly Papaya proxy or whatever it may be called. I'm not trying to give you ideas for the names, guys. It's all up to you, by the way. All right. So moving on.
Yeah, for the eager beavers, we prepared some. Whoever wants to do instantly something, there's also stuff to do already. So you can download the NIM wallet, have a look around it. It's currently only for desktop, but we're gonna be using the NIM wallet regarding all token-related things and operating the mixed node. So that's, if you want to have a look, take a look. It's super easy to install. You can also download NIM Connect, which is a software to connect to the Mixnet and use the Mixnet to preserve your metadata for Telegram, Matrix, and some other other wallets as well. That's also something that you can already download and have a look at. We're going to also be diving deep into how that works and what it does exactly in the coming weeks. And for developers, you can feel free to thumb through the NIM documents on the NIM website. And for +1, check the awesome NIM GitHub repo done and maintained by No Trust Verify, core community members and super good friends of ours. And I think with that, I have nothing to add.
I do have something important to add, though, because this is the most important thing. If you take home one thing from this opening ceremony, it should be this. If you want to participate in Shipyard, the 2 most important things to keep an eye on are the Shipyard announcements channel on Discord, because we're going to be keeping you posted about everything that's going on regarding Shipyard. So you're going to get updates on the schedule, updates on things to read, updates on your homework and tasks and everything else. So keep your eye on that one channel, and also shipyard.nimtech.net. It is the dedicated web page for Shipyard, and we're going to be sharing sort of like an overall itinerary for every stage over there, so that you have everything, all the materials to read, all the videos to watch, everything in one place over there. And that was it.
And
good luck, have fun, everybody.
Maybe one more thing. Yes, but maybe one more thing before we close off. Is there a pop-up we prepared for people who just watch this whole live stream together?
Loaded question. Yes, there is a pop-up. So a link will be shared in our live chat to the pop-up claiming page, and you will need to enter the secret word, which is, how do I go back here? Which is Milhan. So Milhan is the password for this one as well. The designs, if you liked the design of the materials that we shared leading up to Shipyard and also this presentation, then you're going to be absolutely in love with the designs of the POAP that we had created for Shipyard. They were created by a community contributor, an NFT artist called Popple20. So big thanks to you also, sir, for the amazing visual language of NIM Shipyard. And I think we still have a few minutes left for AMA, right? Salazar, please keep spamming or CMs, please keep spamming the claim link in the chat so it doesn't get lost, so people can claim. And let's address a few questions. Salazar, hello, hello. I think he's looking.
Yeah. Should we start answering some of the questions that the beautiful audience have popped in the chat until then?
Sorry, say that again?
I'm just wondering if we should select a few cool questions to answer in our remaining 7 minutes of the opening ceremony.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Let's go for the Q&A.
Yeah. So I see a couple of questions here. With the first one being, it's a question for Jaya actually. So what is the criteria for become a NIM Shipyard 2.0 talent, and how will these talents join the NIM team? Do you want to answer it, Jaya, or should I answer it?
I can answer it. Well, obviously, you study hard, listen to the live lectures, and contribute in the channels, and you'll graduate, among the best in class of NIM Shipyard. So, that will automatically make you one of our core contributors. We've kind of created the learning program so that we try and introduce you to contributing in a real way quite quickly. So, that's the first step. And then in terms of moving from being core community to becoming part of the core team, that all depends. We're always having new job listings, and there's always open positions. So keep your eye out on the job listings. We welcome applicants from all over the world, and we're super happy to have quite a dynamic team. But obviously also NIM, an important part of NIM is the community itself. So whether or not you actually join the core project, if you join as a node operator or as a developer or contribute in other ways, that is still very much considered core to the mission. So Hux, feel free to add your own answer.
Yeah, no, you covered everything. I think probably what I would highlight from your answer is to, show up, keep being engaged, do cool stuff, talk to people, and if you do that enough, and if you create enough value, you're gonna find your way in and around the project, how to contribute the best. And
speaking from experience, friend.
Yeah, it's the summary of my 1-year-long experience. Yes, absolutely.
All right,
it's a lot of fun, guys. So.
Sorry, man.
I just wanted to share more how nice it is to be around people, who you share the same vision of the future with. And I haven't told this in my intro, but I've been a free floater in the Web3 space for like a bunch of years, 3-4 years, and I couldn't ever really find a DAO or a project which was appealing enough for me to stay there for a longer time. So I don't know if it's just me or if this project is super cool, but I think it's answer B.
We brought the right guy to shale, Jaya. I think we did a good job on that. All right, so next question, I think it's a really good one. What's your opinion about, I think this is also for you, Jaya. What's your opinion about importance of privacy in third world countries where infrastructure is so vulnerable and human rights are not a matter of concern?
Yeah, well, it's even more important, right? I mean, of course, nothing is a silver bullet. And when we're talking about problems of oppression in third world countries, having secure communications is absolutely a huge help. But there's other things in addition to privacy that's needed. One of them, especially, is something like censorship resistance, right? So privacy can help you, but if your communications get censored because they're noticing that you're running privacy preserving systems, then it's not gonna work, right? They'll just shut you down. So, that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at very much in the next year at NIM. So, yeah, I think like privacy is super important in third world countries, but is often overlooked. There's another, there's interesting research that's starting to happen on specifically data markets in third world countries, and things like technological sovereignty more generally, right? So one of the problems that we see, that one of our community members actually highlighted in doing some research about use cases in Latin America, is that for a lot of third world countries, access to the internet is dominated by big tech companies. So a lot of people are maybe only accessing the internet via Facebook, right? And have no freedom to choose the tools that they're actually using and to browse a free and open web. Instead, they're just on one corporate platform. And again, that's one of the problems where, NIM as a solution, we can't provide a solution for that scenario, right? There's limited things that we can do. We can potentially help for communications to and going to and from Facebook, but at the end of the day, Facebook is not a privacy preserving platform. So
Is it
there
not? I never heard that before.
one of the worst culprits in
news.
selling data. So yeah, it's a very important question. Thank you for raising it. I think it's important to understand what can and cannot be solved. And third world countries, as usual, face much bigger problems than those in the West.
And we have a lot of wonderful questions. Actually, I'm only going to be asking you one more, Jaya, because we're short on time. But please make sure if you have some questions, bring them to the AMA on Friday. We're going to be answering all of them. And thank you for the lovely questions, everyone. I think this is a really good one, given the fact that we're sitting at the intersection of Web 2 and Web 3. So NIM is in this very peculiar, special position where we're not really Web 3. We kind of are, but we're also the NIM mix that works with anything. You can run anything on the NIM mix. So the question is, what strategy will you implement to bring non-crypto natives into your ecosystem? How do you keep a balance between developing the technology and also improving the value of the NIM token? These are two questions in one. Wait, sorry, could you say that again? Non-crypto natives. Yeah, exactly. So what strategy will you implement to bring non-crypto natives into your ecosystem? And the second question is, how do you keep a balance between developing technology and also improving the value of the NIM token? Yeah. So what's beautiful is that we actually tie all these things together in NIM. So NIM is a project that actually does straddle both the Web 2 and Web 3 universes, because we're a general purpose privacy system, right? So what we do is we solve a privacy problem for any type of internet traffic, whether that internet traffic is between Web3 nodes, between validators, between light clients and blockchains, or if that traffic is, from messaging apps or whatever else. NIM can operate as a single anonymity set across, all those different apps. So crisscrossing Web 2 and Web 3. So in that sense, we have our communications is aimed at both audiences, right? So you have a lot of people in Web 2 who want privacy. A lot of the privacy tech industry is very much in the Web 2 universe. And we can speak very easily to them, just as easily as we can speak to people in Web 3. The difference, though, is that people in Web 3 tend to be much more driven by strong values of decentralization, digital sovereignty, and so on, and want to see a transformation of the internet. And so there is an appetite for experimental software. There's an appetite to get involved, to contribute to running the infrastructure, to contribute to building on the infrastructure, which is one of the unique things and one of the kind of dynamic aspects of the Web3 space. Now, how that relates to the token, again, we have we draw both together. So in the traditional Web 2 space, there's a big appetite for privacy right now. So as I mentioned in my talk earlier, demand for VPNs in particular are skyrocketing. NIM is focused very much right now on developing a end user application, namely the NIM VPN. And that is aimed absolutely for users and people, across the spectrum. So absolutely for the kind of huge parts of humanity that are very much in the Web 2 world. But the interesting thing is the NIM VPN is tied directly to the NIM token, right? So the NIM token is the economic engine behind the VPN. And so what we see is a benefit to both worlds, right? We see a benefit to the kind of token-driven world of Web3 by tying the token value and the token circulation directly to a real-world use case, and that use case actually having an appeal that goes way beyond the Web3 industry. I hope that answered your question. That's really well said, actually. Thank you, Jaya. And I think this is all that we had time for today. So officially, by the powers vested in me by nobody, absolutely nobody, I welcome everybody to NIM Shipyard. And I wanna give you guys the chance to say some closing remarks before we say goodbye today.
I'm super excited, looking forward to meeting you all on one of my lectures. I'm going to be talking a bit more about counter-surveillance token economics and how to use different Web3, the wallet, how to bridge, how to stake, and yeah, just meeting.
Oh, I think
We lost you there.
Hux.
Oh. Well, anyways, he said goodbye early. What about you, Jaya? Any closing remarks?
Just welcome to everybody from all over the world. Don't be shy. Ask questions in the channels. If there's anything you don't understand, reach out to the core team about anything at all. We're here to facilitate this learning journey for you and make it as exciting and fun and mind-blowing as possible. I'm here on Friday for the next AMA, so if you have any more questions that I didn't manage to answer, just get in touch then.
Okay, so my closing remarks, 3 things. One is that the next thing that's happening is how to fix the broken internet masterclass with Harry Halpin on Wednesday. See you same time, same channel on Wednesday. Please introduce yourself in our channels. Welcome everybody to the community. What was the third one? I forgot. Anyways, probably it was not that important if I forgot it. So 2 things then. I'm going to leave you with those. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely day.
See you soon, guys. Ciao, ciao.